Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Q&A edition of Optimal Relationships Daily, episode 979. I am your host, Greg Audino. Really glad to have you here on the weekend for a Q&A episode from my other show, Optimal Living Advice, giving you a chance to see how many of the principles we narrate about during the week can be applied to your own relationship struggles. And our listener today is a woman who is waiting a little longer than expected for a proposal. Let's hear her question. Let's see what we can do to help her out and optimize your life. Greg, I am a 38-year-old woman and have been dating a man who is 32 for a year and a half now. Neither of us has had many relationships, but we both feel very confident that this is the real thing and that we want to spend our lives together. My question is, what's taking him so long to propose? We've talked about it and agreed that we are ready, but no ring yet. I don't want to put pressure on him, but as Marissa Tomei would say, my biological clock is ticking. Oh, my word. Wow. All right. Well, if this guy doesn't come around, you can just give me a call. I will propose to any woman who casually drops my Cousin Vinny references. All right. So first piece of advice to all listeners is to go watch My Cousin Vinny if you haven't already. That's a freebie for all of you. There you go. Oh boy, that was rich. Okay, let's take a look here, though I am admittedly shaken. Look, you've known your boyfriend for a year and a half, and you say you both feel confident that this is the real thing. Do you think that you know all there is to know about him? Probably not. If you're having trouble with that, then do you think he knows all there is to know about you? Again, probably not. Most likely, this is because some things just fall through the cracks and get forgotten, rather than because things are being hidden purposefully. But there is a middle ground, too. The things that are not forgotten, not hidden per se, but just difficult to express, things that will maybe come out in time. Marriage is a process of lifelong learning. I highly doubt that any two partners know all there is to know about one another at the time of their marriage, especially if they've only been together a year and a half. Your relationship is no different. So, with this in mind, let's be mindful about the fact that there is any number of reasons that your boyfriend might not have proposed yet, in spite of the extent to which you've talked about it. Maybe he's waiting for his finances to be in a better place, or maybe he just hasn't found the perfect moment yet. So, if you've got a cruise or something coming up, then get pumped up. But really, though, it could be anywhere between those two. Your job in this waiting period is simply to remain patient and communicative. It's also your job to understand two things. The first thing is to remember that in no way, shape, or form is this potential concealing of information a sign that you are not loved. Even if it's something closer to finances than it is to waiting for the right proposal moment. Of course, full communication is definitely ideal, but people who are unable to reveal themselves completely to you are not necessarily people who don't love you as much as you love them. Many times, people keep information from loved ones as a means of protecting them, or because they don't feel it would be useful, good or bad, to disclose information, or quite frequently, out of concern that their loved one's impression of them will change. Should it be the latter, you have to understand that such a dilemma revolves more around them struggling to love themselves optimally rather than struggling to love others optimally. This type of personal battle likely has nothing to do with you or their ability to love you. The second thing to remember is that a year and a half, it means different things to different people. And that could certainly stand to be the case when we're talking about a 38-year-old woman and a 32-year-old man. The younger you are, especially as a man, but for women too, the more time and flexibility you allot yourself when it comes to getting to know someone. You know that. Talked about this in episode 24 as well. It's inevitable. The closer we are to middle age, especially with fertility in question, the easier it gets to want to rush things along. I'm sure this is truthful for you in some ways, that in the few relationships past, you put less pressure on partners to make a commitment and to be the perfect match and to do everything correctly. With more rush comes higher standards and less time or tolerance to get to know one another. Speeding things up around your age, it makes sense, yes, but it comes with these risks. You have to understand that. Now, think for a second about what a year and a half might mean to your partner, okay? You know what it means to you. For him, one could see how he'd feel less pressured by time, both emotionally and physically. Not that getting married has to be more about pressure than desire, of course, but he doesn't have as much reason to be in the same rush as you do. However, that's not to say that he isn't well aware of your age and is likely picking up some of the stress that you're feeling from this, which wouldn't make him feel any more at ease. He's likely caught in a whirlwind between wanting to feel perfectly ready for himself, as we men tend to do, as well as accommodating to your perfectly understandable needs in this situation. He might communicate this, he might not. Whatever the case may be aware that he too is likely wrestling with this impending proposal, just in a different way. And finally, I would be remiss if I didn't remind you that you are allowing stupid social norms to dictate this entire struggle of yours right now. I'm sorry, but you don't have to wait for him to propose. There's no one worth listening to that's saying that you as a woman can't propose to him if you're ready to. I know I'm turning this into like general advice here, but for everyone listening, there are so many absurd social norms that prevent us from doing things that are very important to us and don't hurt anyone. It's well worth your time to stop and consider which of these social norms might be behind a lot of the problems you're facing that you feel others are responsible for. This is a classic example of how we can be so forgetful and so distant of these simple truths that we allow the biggest moments of our lives to be put on hold or not happen altogether. It's ridiculous. There's no need for that, especially in 2020 as the world accommodates more and more to unbridled freedom by the day. So just remember that you can always do that. You always have that option. And if you feel as close to your partner as you say you do, and you feel that in spite of what we've talked about today, that the marriage can be successful right now, then there's nothing holding you back from initiating the proposal. There we have it, folks. Great question, great episode. Thank you so much for sending this question in, Asker. Yes, love and affection has many, many layers, some of which absolutely lie between love and marriage. It's easy to forget that, so today's episode felt to me like an important reminder. And if you have questions of your own, do email them to us at advice@oldpodcast.com, advice@oldpodcast.com, and I will help you out on the show in addition to having an email exchange. But other than that, everybody, hey, enjoy your weekend ahead. Be sure to stop in tomorrow to hear some more content narrated for you like we usually do. That's where your optimal life awaits.